Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here with my week 1 battle of the Smogon Premier League, and I'm playing Pohjis. If you guys didn't know, I'm playing RU. Now this is old RU, which doesn't really make a difference with what we have, but basically Gligar and stuff was available for this week. Next week, those Pokemon will not be available. But I'm playing Pohjis. If you guys didn't know, I played Pohjis for Grand Slam, and he actually knocked me out of Grand Slam quarterfinals, so I definitely wanted to play him again, and yeah, that's just it. So, Pohjis has a strong team versus me. The Golisopod is really nice. I do have Noivern in there to check that. And Florges is also a problem because I'm running Double Dragon, the Dark Panda. So, I do have Bronzong though, but he has potentially Snorlax to deal with that. If it's Cursed Lax or not can also be an issue. But the endgame I was going for was potentially Tyrantrum. Earthquaking or head smashing through the end of his team. I knew that Blastoise could also pressure him a little bit if I got rid of Florges, but I need to get rid of Florges, and that's a huge problem for me because he eats everything from my team. So as far as leads went, I ended up leading off with my Tyrantrum because I was basically everything else had a bad lead matchup versus Golisopod plus Raikou combined, whereas Tyrantrum was the only Pokemon that had a good matchup versus those two. So I led off with Tyrantrum. As he leads off with Golisopod, I doubled directly into my Blastoise, anticipating him to go Steelix, his Head Smash resist, and then I triple, I guess, whatever. I switch again into my Bronzong, anticipating him to go Florges, just so I can get up rocks. I made this series of plays because, first off, I wanted to get up rocks as quickly as possible to help my Tyrantrum do its thing, but also I didn't really switch in very well to Florges, so I wanted to make sure it was gone. But he goes Snorlax. Now, this could be Banded, this could be Cursed. I opted to just stay in and go for Toxic here on the Snorlax, just in case it is Banded, as he does go for Banded Pursuit. Now, right here are a few choices. I can go for Earthquake. Earthquake does like 20%, but with Poison, it will rack up. Or I can try and switch into my Panda, because he's locked into Pursuit. That's Banded. Because he's locked into Pursuit, and then potentially go for Knock from there. Now, there's a few pros and cons of this. If I stay in, I'll be able to wear down the Snorlax much to the point of basically everything knocking it out, but I lose my Bronzong, which is my main Florges switching. So at the same time, if I switch, obviously Pursuit is doubled. Now I opt to, after calculating how much my Earthquake did, I opted to switch out here because I wanted to get in my Panda, and I knew that if I wanted to win, I had to get rid of Florges' item. So I get in Panda, I click Knock Off because Florges is his best switch, and he's not going to go Golisopod with rocks up because Emergency Exit will activate. I get a very lucky crit, which means that I can potentially threaten him with Bullet Punch, right? So he actually ends up going for the Moonblast here as I go Shaman. It was just a good pivot, I felt, into this Pokemon, and I go for Leech Seed. Main reason I went for Leech Seed is because I couldn't knock him out with Seed Flare anyway unless I crit. And if he went out to Noivern, first off, he would go for Synthesis or Wish anyway. More than likely Synthesis. If I landed that Leech Seed, I could go out into my Bronzong on that turn, that he'd more than likely go for Defog or Wish up again or go Noivern and just get a little bit of recovery back. But I missed my first Leech Seed, which really sucks because now my Shaman is lower than what I wanted it to be. So I go for another Leech Seed as he is going to go for Defog. Right here are a few choices. I can go for Seed Flare, or I can go for another Leech Seed, anticipating him to switch. I thought that he would switch out into his Noivern, so I went for Leech Seed there. Again, had I landed the first Leech Seed, I think I would have been able to get out by Bronzong, but he brings in his Snorlax, and his choice ban, and it has Facade. So instead of sacking Bronzong, I'm actually going to go Tyrantrum, because Tyrantrum takes this decently well, and with Leech Seed recovery, I basically force a KO. So I go for Dragon Claw to invite in either Florges or a Steelix as he goes Golisopod, and I can bring out Noivern on the first impression. Makes a very good play, goes for Spikes, anticipating me to want to switch out to Noivern, but I'm in a commanding position here, especially if I'm Z Draco, right? So I go for Hurricane as he brings out Florges. Now, I'm going to throw off a Z Hurricane here, and both of these were rolls, by the way. Hurricane doing 30, Z Hurricane doing 51. I opted to go for it because my Bronzong was already so weak. Now Raikou comes out. I had a choice. I could have went hard into my Panda here because my Panda could have dealt with this this Raikou, or I could go Bronzong as a sack just in case it's Volt Switch. I was really paranoid about him Volt Switching and getting in Noivern, so I opted to go Bronzong. In hindsight, Panda probably was the better play there, but he reveals Calm Mind. Luckily, I have Earthquake on my Bronzong for this specific reason. That way, Calm Mind Raikou cannot set up on me. But I have Earthquake there, and I'm going to be able to bring out my Tyrantrum. Now, I could have brought out my Pangoro here, but I figured Tyrantrum would at least scare him out into Steelix. Now, I wasn't think, what I was thinking was because he has Noivern and Golisopod as 2 Earthquake resistances / immunities, and because Tyrantrum is such a huge problem to him in the late game, I didn't think he'd go Licks every single time. Like right here, basically, I made the call to go for Head Smash because Head Smash would knock out Raikou, but also would deal with Noivern as well as Golisopod. I bring up my Pangoro here because I'm scared that he'll double into Raikou as I go Blastoise, and Pangoro could deal with that. So in hindsight, didn't really work out because he went for Earthquake to weaken my Blastoise, which was still a good play, a really good play, because it would weaken Blastoise for Steelix for the late game. And I basically give him damage on my Golisopod, which very much sucks because this Golisopod, my Pangoro, because this Pangoro could have went in this game, and I wanted it to. But bring on my Noivern on the first impression. Gonna throw off Hurricane here as I believe, or Flamethrower, excuse me, anticipating him to want to go out into one of his 2 resists. I get a crit on Raikou, which reveals this is max HP Raikou. So I have a few plays I can make here. I opt to go Shaman because after a Calm Mind boost, first off, I'll take an HP Ice. Secondly, after a Calm Mind boost, I can still break Raikou's sub. So I go for Seed Flare as he is going to go for the Calm Mind. And right here, that Spike is so threatening to me because it keeps wearing down my Tyrantrum. So I go for another Seed Flare. I didn't want to risk Leech Seeding on the Noivern switching. And I have to Protect here. It's not really like a play that matters much in a sense, but it's basically I want to force him. If he has the Hurricane, he'd use it there, and I want to force him to use regular Hurricane. But he goes for Flamethrower as my Pangoro comes in, and it gets burnt by the Flamethrower. It doesn't really matter because he can 2-hit KO me anyway. But now I can bring out Tyrantrum, and once again, I'm torn between going for Earthquake versus Head Smash this turn. I go for another Head Smash, miss on Steelix, may or may not have mattered, who knows, towards some damage, as you guys will see later, like when I'm getting off damage, but I don't think right there it mattered in a sense. But I'll bring out my Blastoise now, and it's kind of like 50-50s whether he'll go Golisopod to get off first impression damage, because basically damage on Blastoise ensures that he would, damage on Blastoise ensures that Raikou guarantee knocks me out. So I could have went for Ice Beam here, but I go for Dark Pulse because it would activate the emergency exit on Golisopod and still do a good chunk to Raikou, as he is going to go for a Hurricane, manages to connect. I'm going to be able to knock him out with Ice Beam. Because he did connect that Hurricane, I go down to Raikou's Thunderbolt now, and I'm pretty much in a situation because of that Spike where I cannot switch. So I get in my Tyrantrum now. Once again, I'm actually going to click Head Smash because if I want to win this, I have to go off of playing aggressive, I feel. So I get the Golisopod on the Head Smash switch because Earthquake was really free there. I was surprised he didn't go at any point, but he brings in Steelix, and I kind of have to go off his throw, or potentially Hurricane confusing with Noivern. So I go for Head Smash here. As he roars me, I was really surprised because Heavy Slam knocked out Noivern at 60%. If it's no attack invested Steelix, it does 61% min. But I was really surprised because this potentially gives me an out right here, because right now I'm not in the best position, right? Steelix hasn't taken any damage. Had I Earthquaked throughout the game, I would have weakened it. But this gives me a potential to win. So I throw off a Flamethrower here because damage on Steelix or a burn could mean that Tyrantrum can win as he goes hard Raikou. And I throw off a Hurricane because my best chance of winning at this point is getting a 30% confusion on Raikou. I don't end up getting it, and I don't end up hitting either. I don't end up hitting, so at that hit maybe. But I'll bring out my Tyrantrum, and at this point, I mean, you guys can see that Steelix is going to be able to eat a hit and knock me out. So there were a few plays that I think I could have done differently. I think the main one that I a little bit am upset about myself, because the point of this is a tournament game, so I lose week 1. That's fine. I want to. It's a team tournament, so it sucks to lose for your team, but I obviously want to improve as well because RU isn't my main tier, and a lot of people were saying that, which is true. But I think a few plays. Oof, voice crack. My bad. I think a few plays I could have done differently. Well played to Pohjis, but I think that his end game was a little bit. I think this roar was a little bit sloppy, because it gave me potential to win, right? Like if had I Hurricane confused Raikou, or even crit Steelix with Flamethrower at that point, or like Flamethrower into Superpower for my Tyrantrum also knocked out Steelix, with some really good rolls and potentially crits. But like, yeah, I feel like all you had to do was click Heavy Slam there and it was a win. I had to stay in at that point too, because if I wanted to win, it gave me it would be off Noivern for confusion. But besides that, I think he played well. I think my main mistakes were not staying in versus Snorlax to just chip away at it to ensure that it couldn't come in later. I wasn't even thinking about Facade. I know Pursuit, Self-Destruct, Earthquake. I thought it was Body Slam. But I know some people also, well, you can't, yeah, you can have Pursuit plus Self-Destruct now, I'm pretty sure. I know Double Edge is also ran on it too. Wasn't expecting Facade. but it's a good status absorber, especially with Florius. But I think getting in my Panda a little bit on the Raikou at a point could have been a little bit better. And also, like I said, staying in versus Bronzong, with Bronzong versus Snorlax and wearing down that Snorlax to the point of every single attack from my team. But, yep, I definitely have to improve it. We keep going. Good games to Florius. Good games to Pohjis. Once again, beats me in Artie, just like he did in Slam. But I'll come back next week. I hope you guys all enjoyed, of course. If you had any question about my turns, hopefully I explained them and why some of them were definitely not the best turn that play. Because if I was trying to go towards an endgame with Tyrantrum, I probably should have clicked Earthquake a few times. I just really wasn't expecting him to let me get damage on Steelix, especially prior to Mega Evolving a couple times. But yeah, I should have played more aggressive with my Panda. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time. Goodbye, my friends.